Hey, it's Kate Stillman, and I want to talk to you about using spices as remedies. So, when we are talking about Ayurveda, we're often talking about how to live in sync with nature. And one of the most basic principles is that what you eat and what you digest, right, that becomes the energy that you have to use and it becomes the tissue of your body. So the process of absorption is really important in Ayurveda, as well as obviously the good nutrients coming in. So when we look at the process of disease in Ayurveda, it's being out of sync with nature, it's not eating a non-nutrient diet, it's eating against your constitution, it's not moving your body enough, it's not processing emotions, it's having an irregular schedule, having issues in relationships and not dealing with those. And that is what feeds the disease tree in Ayurveda. So when we look at where does spice fit into the category of promoting health? And one of the things about spice is that spices have actions in them. They're whether we're talking about turmeric or ginger or cayenne or cinnamon, any of those, right? They have very, very specific actions in them. And so, like the various spices are going to have really different potential actions that they have that are going to have effect on the body. So when the spices mix with food, they give those food those actions. Okay, and that's really important to realize that if you don't have spice in your diet or you don't know how to use spice in your diet, it's a problem. It really is a problem because it means that you don't have really the first line of defense aside from putting good nutrients into your body at the proper time in the proper season, etc. So when you have the right spice, you can rectify the actions of the food that you're eating, but you can also create a huge difference in the way that you're able to digest and absorb those nutrients. So if we look at the first two stages of disease in Ayurveda, it's where the doshas are accumulating and aggravating the digestive tract. So kapha or mucousy goop is accumulating in the stomach. Pitta, like a fiery, acidic, toxic pitta, is accumulating in the intestines, or an airy, dried out, or mobile vata, air quality, is moving in the large intestine, the colon. Okay, so one of those three things is happening in the very, very first stage of disease. Kaphas will tend to get guk in their stomach. Pittas will tend to get acidity in their intestines. Vatas will tend to get bloating or gas in their colon. And that's the very first stage of disease. So if we can not only put the right foods at the right time of day in our digestive tract, but if we can combine those food nutrients with the right spices, the spices are like they're like the UPS truck. They're like the delivery van of those nutrients into your cells, into your blood, into your cells. Now, what that means is that we can start to look at the various properties of spices to see if they're going to antidote the accumulated dosha that we tend to have. So for kaphas to use spices that are kapha reducing, which are the dehydrating spices, the drying spices, those are going to be best. That'll help the stomach stay nice and dry and light and food to be able to digest more easily. For pittas to use spices that are cooling or calming, those are going to help alleviate the tendency towards this hyperacidity in the intestines. For vatas to use spices that are warming and soothing and potentially even not drying or not too dehydrating, those will all help vata decrease the amount of air. Also for vatas to have downward moving spices, spices that move energy down in the body and even out. So spices that expel flatulence, such as fennel or asafoetida or hing, those are particularly good for vatas because they're going to help that gas from building up and trying to move outward and instead help it move downward. So then let's look at just two really specific spices. First, we'll look at turmeric and see how this plays into alleviating disease or alleviating the first and second stages of the disease process in the digestive tract. So first off, what we can see about turmeric is it's antibiotic, so it's going to take care of any bad bacteria we don't want in the gut. But what's interesting is it's also vulnerary. It's also a wound healer or a digestive tract soother, making it easier for the good bacteria to thrive. It's going to help improve intestinal flora, which isn't a very typical quality for a digestive spice. So simply adding turmeric to all your foods is going to help with that. It also is tridoshic. It'll work with all of the different doshas in a way that's not upsetting. I mean, you can use way too much turmeric in excess I'm trying to think of how you would do that. Like if a vata person took a ton of turmeric, not in foods, but as a supplement while drinking coffee and eating popcorn and living on salads, that would be that would have an astringent quality in the colon. But in general, if you're combining turmeric with foods, if you're a raw foodie and you're putting it in the whole root, not the dried powder, in your foods, you're not going to notice it. And if you're eating cooked foods and you're combining it with ghee and rice and dal, you're also not going to have that problem. It works particularly on the digestive tract, in the circulatory system, meaning in your blood and in your lymph, and also in the respiratory system. So it's going to help soothe the digestive tract. It's going to help optimize the cleanliness of your blood and your lymph. It's a blood cleanser or an alternative. And it's also going to help your lungs breathe. So for people that have issues with, asthma, with bronchial issues in general, the turmeric's going to be a great spice just for that. One of the easiest ways to get turmeric into kids is to mix it with honey. I always mix it with honey and add a little bit of black pepper for efficacy, for the absorption of the turmeric. And my kid, from basically Halloween through around May Day, she wakes up in the morning, has some water. I give her about a teaspoon. She's 5. I give her a teaspoon of what we call Boo Candy. We named it Boo Candy because I wanted her to think it was candy when she was really little, when she was 2. And because her nickname was Boo when she was 2. She's no longer nicknamed Boo. She has more sophisticated names, but anyways, the Boo Candy term has held. And that's a way that I just get turmeric into her digestive tract every day. In the time of the year when kids tend to get more of a mucousy stomach, more of a thickness of kapha in their stomach lining, which can translate into building mucus and attracting viruses and flus, viruses and bacteria. Okay, the other reason I wanted to talk about turmeric is turmeric not only optimizes your digestive tract for all 3 doshas, but it cleanses the chakras, but it also helps your ligaments stretch. So if you're into yoga, which you are if you're on the Yoga Healer YouTube channel, you probably wouldn't mind having a little bit more integration in your body, but also the ability to stretch. So turmeric helps your muscles stretch well, and it says helps ligaments stretch. I'm not sure if that's I would say it helps the ligaments do yoga safely, right? That it's not going to stretch your ligaments out that they don't have the elasticity to return, but it helps your bodies stretch and move and open. It makes yoga easier. So that's one thing you want to know about turmeric. And in general, knowing that increasing turmeric in your diet on a daily basis is going to just be good for your whole body. Ginger is another one of these spices in Ayurveda that we want to know of as far as optimizing digestion and absorption, but also as how to use spices as medicine. So ginger is considered a universal healer. It's a great thing to do to like make your own ginger pills where you press ginger juice out of ginger root. When you can do that with a juicer, you can also kind of do it with just with like a cheese grater. If you go in the ultra fine section and you put it over a plate and you just grate your ginger ultra fine, you're going to end up with a pile of juice and a pile of grated ginger. Then you can add dry ginger to that, mix it into little pills, and just put it on I just put it on a cookie sheet. And then in the winter, I'll just put it on top of my stove or in the oven, not even with the oven turned on, and they'll just dry out over a day or 2. If you live in a humid climate, you might put your oven on the lowest setting possible and just dry them out overnight. Now, what ginger does, the reason it's so effective, if we go back to the digestive tract, kapha accumulates in the stomach, pitta accumulates in the intestines, vata accumulates in the colon. Well, say you're traveling and you notice your digestion gets off and you can't find the food that you normally eat at home and you tend to feel off. When you travel, you get back from a trip and you tend to get sick, right? Ginger, you can simply take ginger pills with you, and you can also buy, ginger capsules in the store. They won't work as well as your homemade ginger pills, but whatever, you might not have time. And just taking a ginger pill with each meal is going to help those doshas from accumulating. The only time I wouldn't use dried ginger like that is if your pitta is already high. You tend to get headaches. You tend to get more like heat intensity related symptoms. Other than that, ginger's a really good all-around sattvic herb, sattvic medicine that can dispel mucus. It can help alleviate accumulated vata in the colon, the gas, cramping. It can help those who have irregular menses get their menses on cycle. It can also help open the lungs. So when you take ginger with honey, like the boo candy, you could add ginger to that turmeric mix as well, particularly if your kid gets congestion in the lungs or if you have trouble with asthma in the winter. That'd be a good idea. If you take it with something like rock candy, that is particularly good for pitta. And if you take it with rock salt or black salt, it's particularly more effective for relieving gas in the colon or bloating or digestive pains. All right, so that's just a little bit about how in Ayurveda we use spice to help deliver nutrients into tissue. We use spice really, and this is not very well known, but we really use spice first before we use herbs. Okay, so before you reach for the triphala, you'd reach for the fennel or the hing. Before you reach for the mangista, you'd reach for the coriander or the cardamom. And this is really good to know. It's saying that if you need herbs, you missed spices and you need to go back and get spices in your diet on a regular basis. And if you like this information and you want more, join the Living Ayurveda course or go to yogahealer.com and get your free Ayurveda training. All right, signing off. Oh, one more thing, sorry. Check out this reference book if you're at all into this and you want to know about each and every spice and herb and all the different qualities, whether they're rajasic or tamasic or sattvic, and how they affect the dhatus and the doshas. This is your book by Dr. David Frawley and Dr. Vasant Lad, The Yoga of Herbs. All right. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy.